Alright, boys, how is all doing?
Yeah, good man.
All good.
Good. Welcome back to This Is My Story, your unofficial Hearts podcast. As we say every week, all our views of our own and miles off it. Still unbeaten in the league. It's getting boring now, isn't it?
Yes.
It is getting boring. It's getting boring. But we'll dive into why it's boring for hundreds of different reasons in a little minute. Shanks, it's good to have you back. How have you been?
Good, mate. Good. Just been travelling Europe. Just been kicking about.
Scouting out our European destinations for next year.
I've re-signed Novakovas and he can't wait to get started.
The least said about that, the better.
I'm stunned silence that you. Well, I'm stunned you even knew who he was.
Still reeling from that. Like, what was his first name, Shanks? Can you remember that?
He's the best left back we've had since started thesis. He's absolutely brilliant.
All right, fair enough. It's
Arvidas or something like that, wasn't it?
Called, but I knew you'd get it. Kev probably kens his passport number as well because he's just that much of a nerd.
That's true. Kev, what's been happening? You made it back for Perth last night. How are you?
Still a bit wet because it was fucking pouring it down. Also slightly raging as well, but we'll go into that and we'll delve into that shortly. But other than that, all good.
All good in the hood. And Ando,
amazing.
how's your week been?
Well, when I say amazing, it's been fucking shite. I've nothing much to talk about. A wee incident again involving the British Transport Police on the way home on Saturday, this time in Waverley. But the less said about that, the better, because of the ongoing investigation. I'll maybe be able to speak about it in the future, and I'm not even kidding there. But boring, if I'm honest, mate. Looking forward to the weekend, where actually I don't have to travel to Gorgie. I'm looking forward to a week off. As shit as that sounds.
Well, the positives from the weekend where we got a drink at BMC.
I enjoyed it.
That was decent. A pub that's featured in the Gorgie meter, isn't it? That when we rate our Gorgie venues. That was a good laugh before it. And what I liked even more about that is that we had to walk a mile past the other way to join the queue to get into the Wheatfield after the game, which was crazy. I actually drove to Sainsbury's, parked, walked through Sainsbury's into BMC, came out, walked with yous down Gorgie Road, down whatever that street's called, to the Wheatfield, to walk all the way back to further away than my car was. I was like, well, that was fun. That was a joke, wasn't it? We can touch on that briefly. What was that all about?
Fucking shit.
They've got a quota to meet, haven't they? But then I think they realised that we've made a Ricky Hunt of this, and we've hit the quota. Fuck it, gates open, just let everybody in. But
so I think they said that obviously folk kept tweeting us saying just walk in the Gorgie Road end, you get in no hassle at all. But then I remember for the Hibs game, they weren't letting you in the Gorgie Road end unless you were sitting in the Gorgie Road. So I think everybody is in the same boat, just went to the Wheatfield or whatever. And it felt like, I think what folk were saying was they were literally checking every single person that went in just to see. And when I say checking, I don't think they were doing any forensic checks like scanning QR codes or whatever, but they literally, if you think, what is the Wheatfield hold? 7,000 or something?
About that, huh?
So, and you know what you tell football fans to be in the stadium 45 minutes before kickoff, and then you're shocked that they show up 10 minutes before kickoff. That's like, have you never been to football before?
Aye.
It was always going to happen.
You tell people, by the way, you're going to need this, so make sure that it's enabled on your smart device, and then some silly old bastard gets challenged for it. They go, oh, did he come out to find it? Then they spend fucking 5 minutes trying to find it. Meanwhile, there's a massive queue behind them. It's just a shit show.
Speaking of silly old bastards, Shanks, your dad, how did he get on? Because I seen him walk the queue about 40 times on Saturday. What was going on?
So because I was in Poland at the weekend, so I said to Brad I was going to take my ticket. So my mum and dad were going to the game, and I said, right, I just meet Bradley at the gate. So Brad's Rockstyles phoned me to say, I'm phoning your mum and dad rapid, but no answering. So I phoned my dad, no answer. Phoned my mum, she was like, "Oh, your dad's left his phone in the house." I was like, "Alright, sound." So they parked the car at the skate park at Sockton. Phoning my mum, fucking no answer. Bradley's by this point getting raging because he's been with you all afternoon on the bevy. He's probably busting on a piss. And he's probably waited an hour to get to the front of that queue and left the boozer early to do that. Then eventually my dad's answered my mum's phone. I was like, "What the fuck's going on?" He was like, "I have no idea where your mother is. I'm way back at the skate park. She left her phone in the van." So my dad's at the skate park. My mum's at Sainsbury's, who's joined the back of the queue, and Bradley's at the front of the queue. I was like, "How do I need this?" So I just put my phone on silent and fucking left him to it. But I believe it's somehow Bradley's managed to get in.
We joined the queue, walked past your mum. Brad's left us at the start of the queue. We walked to the end of the queue, met your mum somewhere in the middle, got to the end of the queue at Sainsbury's. When we got to the front of the queue, after 15 minutes, your old guy just was absolutely Stone Cold Steve Austin marching back up the other way as if he must have been heading back to Sockton or something. And I was like,
I was like, why did you not just look down the queue? And anyway, fucking welcome to This Is My Dad's an Arsehole podcast.
Mate, it makes a change from Mad Abby and an arsehole, so there you go.
I've also heard, and I've got it on good authority, that if you happen to have a spare £10 note, you can potentially have a conversation with a rock steady guy who stands on the gate halfway up Wakefield Terrace, and you avoid all of these queuing scenarios. So I just pay that nice.
Just before
all of our opinions are our own.
Aye. Before we move on, how was getting in and out of the stadium last night? Was it all right?
It was fine. It was no problem, other than the fact that I believed that I'd bought tickets for the stand that we're normally in, not realising that I'd actually bought tickets for the Willie Ormond stand, which is opposite. I had to go from one end to the other.
I was hoping you were going to say the home end.
No, it was other than that. It was all fine. It was no issues at all. But I don't think we had 10,000 there, so they don't need to do a passport check.
Did we have? Just on that, did we have fans in just 2 stands or 3? 3.
3.
Well,
stand, both stands behind the goals, and then half of the main stand. But we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that impressive support later. So obviously this week we've got 2 games to dissect. Heart of Drawlothian, as we like to call ourselves. We've got Dundee at Tynecastle and then St Johnstone last night. 11 years since we last won in Perth. Feels like 11 stone ago. I looked at a picture the last time I was at Perth and I was about 10 stone. And it was like 2000 and whatever it was, 10 or something like that was the last time. Try to do my math there. That was so quick and smart I am at doing math. A terrible record. And then obviously our next game's Aberdeen, where we've got an even better record away from home. So we'll look over those 2 games. We'll talk about Aberdeen. We're going to touch on a bit of like reason so far as well. Obviously we've just played the first full round of fixtures, assess where we are, how we've been, happy, sad, what can we do better, when does Neil McCann become Paul Hartley, when does Paul Hartley become the manager, predict, and we'll have a wee go at predicting the next 11 as well. So that's what we're in for this week, and then just total nonsense in between. Shanks, you're back on. You've got a Shanks McCann for us this week, don't you?
I do. Right. Okay. So we're going back more than 10 years. But definitely Shanks McCant Remember it. But I'm pretty sure it was there. Right, okay. Kicking off then. So they went down to 10 men after 30 minutes when their star man saw red after a shocking challenge on our centre half. There we go, kids. Got it already. In a very, very rare man of the match performance, he opened the scoring. Picked him across from the left, standing in acres of space, smashed it into an empty net. Their Huddy keeper never even made it out in the second half. Hooked. We fat arse secured the points for a tasty 2-0 win. Scenes.
You're not allowed to pick it up unless you're a goalkeeper. Who gets in after that?
The wee fat arse comment gives it away to everybody.
My favourite thing My favourite thing is I knew that was going to stump you. They're your words. You literally said it, and you've only just read it, and you're like, "What?"
I said, in a very, very rare man of the match performance, he opened the scoring, picked up a cross from the left, standing in his face, slapped it right into net.
No, let's pick it up. What's he picking up cross? He's for.
Thank you.
See when we were young, right?
See
when we were young and we used to play 7-a-side, used to be able to do a thing called a shy kick, right? Which was you used to be able to, if you couldn't throw it, you rode to like half volley it. That's just what I imagined.
That should be a thing.
Whoever that was, just catching it and then we half volley into the box for farters. Right? We'll definitely put that on the social medias this week.
We done it a fortnight ago when Shanks actually could be bothered to write the last one, and we called out the winners. So we're getting good at this now. We're actually almost a semi-professional outfit. So we'll get them up on the socials by the time you hear this.
And then obviously we've got to touch on the predictor. We said we'd get double points for double goals because somebody was getting a shag in, and like my love life, nobody got shag. And it was just a general absolute disappointment. So how was the predictor looking this week?
I think it was supposed to be a point bonanza. And that's the first time the word bonanza has ever been used on the pod, and I'm fucking disappointed with that. But it should have been a points bonanza the weekend. Obviously, it wasn't because only one goal was scored by us, and I was hopeful for a 5 or a 6. Thrashing of Dundee never really happened. We've obviously had 2 results since then. So we had the standard fare last night. And the bonus question, but there was no double points. Annoyingly, Brad's is still top with 35, followed by Scott Baxter, Andy Dixon, Jamie Devlin, and Gary Anderson. That's the top 5. But a notable mention for who's in 6th place, because it's me. I got the full 7 points last night, so I'd predicted a 1-1 draw, and that's verified in the group chat, and I'd answered no to the bonus question. So I got the full 7 beans last night. So I'm up into 6th place. Honourable mention for my missus as well, who's overtaken yous. She's in 16th, Kev's in 17th, Corbett's in 18th, but just a point separating those two. Tam, useless Huddy that he is in 25th with 19 points. And Shanks, I'm going to, fucking hell, take me a while to scroll all the way down to wherever you are. You're in 80th place on 4 points. Because you're shite. So.
Well, if we're shouting out our missus, if we're shouting out our missus, then I'll shout out my missus because I promised her a shag bonanza. And I'm like Saturday never followed through, so fair play for sticking with me.
Just to finish that off, we will obviously open up by the time you hear this. The next round will be open. There's no double bubble because Aberdeen aren't going to get shagged. It's probably going to be another draw. So you know what? Fuck it. I'll figure out a funny bonus question for this week and try and mix it up a wee bit. But yep, head over to thisismystory.uk/predictor, get your entries in before 3 p.m. On Saturday, and see if you can catch me.
What's that you're opening now, Ando?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Kev. This is one of my 3 out of 8 cans of craft beers that I just got from Beer 52.
Beer 52? Never heard of them. How did you get involved in that?
Well, I went to beer52.com/my story, and all I paid was £5.95 to cover the postage and packaging, and I'm now part of Beer 52, which is the world's largest beer club. And one of the benefits of that is that each month, members like me are sent a case with a different theme.
I've been a member for a few months as well. I've had beers for all over the place. Like past themes have included like Belgium, Korea, California, New Zealand, Germany, Melbourne. Like I've had a beer for Arno Zoom, Daniel Stendhal, Perry Kitchen, Patrick Osnorbo. It's been class.
Does sound interesting. Anything else you get with it?
Yeah, aye. So it comes with a magazine and 2 snacks every month. And guess what? You don't like dark beer? Then choose the light option. Plus, you can pause or cancel at any time. All you need to do is go to beer52.com/my story. And as I say, pay the £5.95 postage to get all of this right now.
Sounds good.
Like a class deal to me.
Aye, it does sound good. We got that on the website?
Yes, we do. So check it out, beer52.com/mystory.
Magic. I can look at that later on tonight.
Right. Cool. So obviously, Kev, you touched on it earlier, but one of the massive positives about last night, one of the big things that you take away from last night is the fact that I think they said it was just around 4,000 Hearts fans in Perth last night. Average, what was the overall attendance? It would have been less than 10, so you're looking at almost 50% of the attendance is Hearts fans on an absolutely horrendously miserable Wednesday night in Perth. Absolute fair play.
It's
so,
mate, it's close to 2/3.
It was good.
The official attendance, I think, was just a shade over 6,000. So.
Yeah, 6,083 was the actual attendance last night, and I think we took 3,800. So it's pretty substantial following for the club. And let's be honest, I mean, Perth's a fucking shithole. You know, it's just full of farmers and silly wee laddies in the back corner with a drum. Allegedly.
I better say allegedly.
Name your legal issues, please. Yeah.
Shanks.
I just want to know if Kev was absolutely buzzing to get his anorak out to be able to go there last night. I reckon you were standing there in your full-on water cagoule, absolutely decked out to the nines.
You don't actually own a cagoule. I'm sorry to say, Shanks, and sorry to burst that bubble for you.
No, you've got waterproof trousers and everything, man.
Kev's one of those guys who got one of those watches that says goes to 400 metres. Even though the body gives up after 50 metres underwater in the pressure or whatever, but your watch will carry on as your body is slowly crushed to its death. You'll be able to take.
He's got one of the hooded engine ventilators on the front of his Renault Clio, just in case. That you see on the fucking Land Rovers, just in case.
So again, that's one of the big things. Is again that's reflective of loads of the stuff we were saying last year and stuff about like. If Foundation of Hearts is going to continue to be successful and the club's going to be successful or not, we need to be good on the park because you know yourself. If we'd started the season poorly, you'll be lucky to get 1,000 Hearts fans to Perth on a Wednesday night raining. So, credit to the team, credit to the fans as well because it was class. I liked Laurie's intro for the Hearts TV commentary or whatever. He talked about all you could hear in the background was the Heart song being absolutely belted out, and it must be a great encouragement for the team stuff. I think Robbie spoke quite well about the crowd as well. Like he spoke last night about how amazing the travelling sport was, and he said about the fact that it would be great for the fans on Saturday because they'll get well oiled up when the train's up and they'll have themselves like a great day, and we hope to give them a great day. Like it's good to see Robbie sort of really riding on that, if you know what I mean, because it must be a big thing. I remember reading stories that say, "Oh, we sold out season tickets," or "We've sold out the away things," and the players like around the applause and getting a buzz to know that that they're being backed by thousands of Hearts fans, which is class. Kev,
it is. You're exactly right. The disappointing aspect is the fact that we can only take 900 to Aberdeen on Saturday because of their restriction to limit the amount of fans in the ground, and it's just a shame that a lot of guys and a lot of people who would probably do that as an away day, because it is a cracking trip, jump on the train at 10 o'clock in the morning, get into Aberdeen, have a good 3 hours in the boozers and that. But it's just disappointing that Aberdeen have taken that particular stance, because I do think there would probably been another 900 would have probably went up. We could have probably taken 2,000 fans up to Aberdeen on Saturday.
Yep. But the good thing is, it bursts that bubble completely that Aberdeen are some form of big team. They're an embarrassment. Yeah, they've got the history, they get all that, and they've got good travelling support, but their home support is absolutely pathetic. Imagine if Hearts took that stance. We're not going to get more than 10,000 for a game against Hibs, Aberdeen, Motherwell, or whatever, so we're just going to limit away fans and let less than 10,000 people in. You'd be embarrassed. Do you know what I mean? You'd be absolutely embarrassed. Your fans have been locked out the stadium for 2.5 years nearly, or 2 years, whatever it's been. And you can't get your marketing right. You can't get the things right where your fans show up more than 10,000. Especially when they take... When you go, Ando.
I was going to say there is maybe a little extra factor that we maybe don't consider, which is we're from the capital and they're from a shithole. So
Yeah, that's
like
very true.
people do like travelling to Edinburgh for the day on a wee day out, getting the train down, seeing a beautiful, cultured, civilised city. Whereas if you go up to Aberdeen and there's no allegedly about it, it is a toxic waste one-day hellhole.
It is it is a dreadful place to be. Like it is a dreadful place.
Are they not like? Are we saying that they've got less than 9,000 season ticket holders in a one club city? That's unbelievable.
What they're saying is that they claim they've sold more than 10,000 season tickets, but 30% of their season ticket holders have indicated to them that they're not comfortable coming back to the stadium due to COVID or whatever. So they've been doing that thing where they've been publishing amount of tickets sold but actual bums on seats, and then try to have a dig at other clubs saying that clubs for ages have been fiddling the books, basically saying that they're getting 15,000, 16,000 when actually bums on seats is more like 12,000. It's just a pathetic stance, to be honest with you.
No. Allegedly, I think that's a reeking load of pish.
Celtic have done that for years as well.
Yep.
They count all season ticket sales as a bum on a seat on their official attendance, even if that person shows up or not. I believe that used to be the case anyway.
It was interesting. It was interesting to keep out with that, but they still had like 14,500 for the Celtic game the other month there.
But that was before COVID passport, though, wasn't it?
I know, but what I'm getting at is if they're turning around and saying that 30% of their fans are saying they didn't want to come back to the ground because of COVID, and now when you've got to have a COVID passport, they're now saying, "Oh no, 30." I didn't quite add that up myself. We're happy to go when you didn't need a passport, but now that I need a passport, I didn't want to go because there might be a COVID risk. Shite.
There is also the other factor, which is maybe they're using COVID as an excuse, because who would want to go and watch Aberdeen because they are fucking dreadful this season.
Well, let's temper that, because they've just beat Hibs and had a good performance. And talking of that, lads, penalty Rangers just came through there. They know that Rangers will get a penalty for absolute no reason as we podcast.
There's not even a game happening, but they've got a penalty. That's class, man.
Look, the thing is that it's dead easy to go over the Colesy decisions or whatever, but over the last few weeks, Rangers have had some very fortunate decisions that have dug them out of holes. Last night, for example, how's that a penalty?
Yeah, idea.
You seen it?
Yes, I have seen it.
Aye.
I did see some.
Bounced off the boy's thigh.
Aye, I've seen something on the BBC saying, yeah, it was a good spot. I'm still not seeing it. I don't get it.
There's a slight pull at the shirt, but again, if you're given the guy, that Sakala guy is facing away from the Aberdeen goal, wasn't making connection with the cross, and if we're given penalties for that, then there'll be 10 penalties a game, because show me a corner or a free kick into the box where somebody isn't holding on to somebody's shirt. Do you know what I mean? It was pathetic. Now, don't get me wrong, you'll go back, people have started, as they do, Celtic fans have started to go through and be like, oh, a penalty here or a penalty here. The penalty Rangers got against St Mirren the weekend was a penalty. The red card to Porteous at Ibrox was a red card. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just, again, Hearts have had loads of penalties this season as well. When you're a team that attacks, you're going to get most of the decisions. But again, last night's one was just, they're 2-0 down after 20 minutes at home, playing absolutely horrendous, don't look like scoring, and then they get a penalty out of absolute nothing. So my question is, tinfoil has back off, right? Does VAR make any difference to what happened last night or in any of the games that we've seen? Because here's my stance, right? If we have VAR, I think VAR give that as a Rangers penalty as well. Do you know what I mean? Because if you slow it down to an inch of its life and look at it, they'll spot the tug and they'll say, that's a penalty. They'll back the ref. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I think you're right. VAR will give that, but conversely, all the other stuff that happens when it's like we all know within the refereeing world, the bigger team always carries an advantage, whether you're home or away. We see it as well. If we go away and play a shite hole team like Aberdeen, let's say, then we well, okay, joking, but we might get decisions that you otherwise wouldn't because you're the bigger side. That's just the way Scottish refereeing works. VAR hopefully would eliminate that because they would have to rule it with like actual rules, if you know what I mean. It can't just be left open to the referee's interpretation because VAR, they always show the pictures, don't they? Within screens in the ground, so that they're fully accountable for the decisions that they're making. So you'd think that yes, VAR will give that as a penalty to Rangers, but then the other stuff that maybe would go against Rangers and Celtic and the bigger teams, and obviously against Hearts as well, would also be given, whereas it maybe doesn't get given just now, would be the only thing I'd say on it.
Kev, you were at the game last night. VAR send off Craig Gordon.
So I was at the wrong end of the ground. I was at the wrong end of the ground, so I can't honestly comment. That's my managerial stance on that particular answer. Thank you.
Yes. We got away with
one. Outside the box, was it?
No, I don't think it was. Outside, right? Well, that would be a sending off. I think it was more he went to try and kick the ball. Yeah, tried to kick the ball away after he's blocked. Is it the boy Kane, Chris Kane, isn't it?
Aye.
So he's tried to actually get his toe to it, but for that point of view, Gordon's blocked it, and then Stevie May might have came in, and it's there that I think they're effectively calling for the penalty. But as I say, I was at the wrong end. I was at the Ormond stand behind Clark in the first half where Ginnelly scored, so I couldn't really make it out. So I apologise, as I say, by taking a managerial stance on the answer to that particular question.
I think it's just one of those things. VAR will come into Scottish football. I think the game, whether you like it or not, the game globally is moving forward. Scottish football is already too far behind when it comes to certain things. VAR will come in. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. But you just hope that the things balance out, because, like you said, Ando, if they're going to be pernickety and start pulling up type of things like the Rangers penalty last night, then you're hoping that they spot, the nudge on Boyce, for example, at Ibrox, or the tackle by Aribo at Ibrox that gets highlighted, all that sort of stuff. But again, common sense, Scottish football, can't see it. Here's one for you, right? We touched on it briefly last week, and we'll just briefly call in it here, but I think it's a good talking point. Rangers, Aberdeen, Celtic, Hibs, Hearts, St Johnstone, what was it? Not a single game on Sky last night. Instead, we watched Liverpool's reserve under-21 team play Preston North End in the fucking Coca-Cola Cup or whatever it's called in there, the Johnston Spain Trophy. Scottish football. Again, there was no game was there a game on it this weekend? It was St Mirren Rangers, wasn't it? Was that the televised game? But the weekend before, where it was Hearts Rangers, when there was showcase games, all of the top six playing each other, we weren't on the telly again. And you look at some of the scores last night as well. 2-2 at Ibrox, 3-1 at Easter Road, 1-1 draw with us, which was quite an entertaining game, probably from a neutral, because it was almost old-fashioned in sense of its end-to-endness. Ross County have scudded, Dundee 5. There's a draw with Dundee and Livingston. Like, it's just that it's a piss take, innit? Somebody's going to have to.
You would think we would have like a CEO of the league that might actually want to promote the actual league and do his job, as you say. And from that point of view, we wonder where he is. Maybe he's on holiday or something like
that. All we need to do is just get some flexibility written into that agreement. So obviously Sky pay the money that they currently pay. There's an argument to say whether it's valuable or not, but I think based on this season, this season's Premier League product has been quite good. Let's be honest. I mean, it's the most interesting season in the Premiership, I should say, for ages. Obviously, not least because we are back in it, but this whole rigidity about having like only so many games can be shown from any one ground and all that sort of shit, that all needs binned. It should just be the case that whenever there's a full card of fixtures, Sky get to pick whatever game it is, right? With no limits, no bounds or anything like that. And to highlight a proper case in point, this weekend's game on Sky is Motherwell versus Rangers at noon on Sunday. Who fucking cares about that? Nobody. No. Not a single person.
It's an old firm away game, isn't it?
Right, exactly. And
especially
this is what happens.
Especially when even if you look at it from the flip side, it's at Celtic win at the weekend, they go top of the league if things go their way.
Yep.
Do you mean, and you think of where Celtic have started, where they could be a routine victory for Rangers away to Motherwell. Hearts versus Aberdeen a bit resurgent. Ross County versus Hibs. Hibs in free fall, the third best team in the country last year, versus a side that haven't won, just come off a 5-0. You're right. Somebody needs to get better. And Kev, you were right till you said somebody needs to be calling it out. Talking of calling it out, we won't give them the too much detail of it because we know what they're like, but the Celtic fans last night interrupting the minute silence for Walter Smith as well. Where's the media? Where's Tam McManus tweeted that the minute silence was impeccably observed, which is absolute bollocks. There's about 47 clips kicking about that shows it wasn't. Need a backbone. You need to start, if we're going to be upset and start calling out all the stuff that needs to be called out. We've been brilliant at the racist stuff. We've never missed a beat when it comes to that. Marvin Bartlett at Livingston, Glenn Kamara at Rangers, all that sort of stuff. We've not missed the pulse once when it's came to that stuff. This stuff needs called out. This is where we need to start taking the same stance. You can't have that and just pretend that it didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? So, like you said, we're not going to give them too much a hang because it's exactly what they want, but it needs to be called out. That's a disgrace.
No, right. It gets back to the whole, just to finish up on that, it gets back to the whole strict liability argument in football that's been kicking about for years. I know Mikey Stewart's been peddling that agenda for ages, but that's all we really need to say on it, which is you're either in favour or you're not. And depending on what the circumstance is, depending on what the incident is, you have to say aye, yay or nay. For me, I don't know, jury's out, but one that we can talk about in another time.
Aye, that's a debate for a different pod because I think it's a very interesting.
We'll wait until it affects us, and then we can discuss it.
Get it in the bin. Aye. As long as, maybe if we start singing allegedly before our songs. So if we put allegedly before the Billy Boys, would that get us away with it tiny? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Maybe we could try that. Right. Obviously, the whole reason of the podcast, we've got 2 games to talk about. We decided that obviously we'll touch briefly on them both, but we've seen they were the same story, weren't they? Yeah, to be honest with you, the same idea. Guilted chances. I've written it down here. Guilted chances. A great build-up play. Some of the best football I've seen Hearts play for a long time. Lack of goals from the front. Tweeted today about defenders have scored 6 goals for us. 3 goals have come from midfield. 6 goals have come from Boyce, and 1 goal's come from Nando. Do you know what I mean? Like more than 50% of our goals are coming from defenders. So, there's clear things there. 6 draws from 11 now. 50% of our home games are draws. So let's talk about the home game first then. Dundee at home Saturday. Kev, what was your thoughts on it?
I must have all say, and I know we're going to talk better last night than we did on Saturday. I think Saturday's performance, where we wanted to move the ball quickly, we didn't. Where there was options to maybe just take 2 passes, we took 6. I just thought we were really, really lax on Saturday, possibly our worst performance of the season. We just didn't look really at the races at all. I don't know why. I don't know if it was the mentality of, do you know what? it's Dundee. I really don't know. And there's nothing, I can't even think of actually asking any questions of the keeper. Suter scored a cracking goal, but we've never really tested the keeper at any other time, really, in the game. A couple of ones here and there, but nothing I would say that he's made an actual, miraculous save or anything like that. It's saves that you would maybe expect a keeper to be making, unless it had been, Hamilton, then there was a good chance that some of them could have snaked in. But anyway.
Well, I'll disagree, if I'm being honest with you. We've hit the post, we've hit the bar, we've missed. You're right in terms of gilt-edged chances. I thought, and I tweeted it on Saturday, that back to middle and to a certain extent to the front, we played great football, but it breaks down after a certain point. You look at, there were situations where, like, Cochrane, nice play, wins the ball back, Barry Mackay slips him in, he beats his man, instead of shooting or drawing it across, he tries another chop to cut back onto his right foot. Defender manages to get a foot in. Barry Mackay did the same a couple of times. There was a couple of cutbacks. Benny had a couple of chances as well where he's tried the cutback or the drag back one too many, and it was like that stuff there. We played really nice football, got into really nice positions. It was just that decision making, the stuff that Ando spoke about before in the past, about that sort of penetration and going that little bit of flair, that extra bit to take the goals. Like, for example, Woodburn is a great example of that. Woodburn scores on Saturday when he cuts inside and puts it in the bottom corner. You're talking about him as man of the match because for the first 45 minutes, he was great. His movements are intelligent, his passing's intelligent, his build-up play is really good, but doesn't he score? And then he doesn't score in the second half, he goes off. You think, well, he's not done anything because he's not scored and he's not created any goals. So it was a weird one Saturday, a really, really strange one, because Ando said and predicted a shagging. We really could have. It could have been. I thought if we'd scored another goal, floodgates open, they were already losing their discipline, Dundee. If I'm being honest, I don't know how Charlie Adam avoided bookings. You look at the thing where the defender boy takes Boyce out completely. Charlie Adam's screaming in his face. It's like, the guy's literally forearm smashed. Boyce, what do you want him to do? Ando, what was your thoughts?
I think there was, like, just to not to go over the same points that you've made, but I think you're absolutely hit the nail on the head. If we get a second goal, the floodgates open. If you look at the stats from the match, right? So possession 70% versus 20%, right? So we had the ball 3/4 of the time essentially, right? And throughout that, the amount of shots that we had on in and around the box, unbelievable. It's like 20-6 that I'm looking at the figures just now. The bit for me is the only fall down is the shots on target. So, like, for example, if you've got 21 shots but only 4 on target, where you take Dundee, they've got 6 shots with 3 on target. So, even on general percentages, they are more clinical with their shots on target. That's just a simple fact. But the key for me is that we are holding the ball, we are getting in positions to make those shots, and see, all it takes is 1, 2, or 3 of them to hit the target. We said we already hit the woodwork twice. You count those shots as goals, then I know it's a stupid thing to say, but then it becomes a shagging. If you know what I mean, it's like on paper we absolutely brushed them aside. We just didn't put the ball in the net, and that it obviously is just down to individual errors. And I know I've spoken about poor decision making in the past, but I didn't see a lot of that. On Saturday. We were just unlucky for me, I think, and that's a cliched thing to say as well, is that you don't get the rub of the green or whatever, but on another day that would have been 4 or 5 or 6, and the stats back that up.
The thing that we have right now is our fine margins can make our runs look amazing. We go to Pittodrie on Saturday and win, then we've won 1-7, 1-6, drawn 6 or whatever. You get a good run. You then lose Saturday, it's 1 win in however many. Do you know what I mean? Those runs, they're fine margins where it's like you said, you're right. Batter Dundee. What annoyed me about Sportscene, right? just because it's just came to my head. They showed about 4 attempts on goal from Dundee, and all 4 of them were offside. And it was like, they're not. So how are they? They're good chances because they're offside. So there was 2. There was a volley from a free kick. They were all in an offside position. There was a header from a free kick. They were all in an offside position. And no, a few they were like clearly offside. There was another header in the second half when they were offside, and I'm like, why are you showing them those chances? Because it made it look like they were actually in the game. They weren't. They literally scored with their only attempt on goal, pretty much. Do you know what I mean? And it was a piss take. So Shanks, you forensically dissect their goal on the group chat. What was your take on the Dundee equaliser?
So I know we spoke about it when we jumped on, so you can come in with your comment. But Hawkett's completely lost his man. Benny, I thought he did exactly the same in Perth. He's not goal side. I think we need to stop putting him on the line unless we can sort that out. I know your view is that Gordon should have came in and absolutely clattered everybody. But for me, Halkett and Benny should have been a bit tighter.
Aye. I don't know. I can't make up my mind if it was negligence or if it was overconfidence, because Dundee literally weren't a threat in the game. There was a half volley for Kelly and Sheridan or whatever, but Lee Griffiths was miles off it, never really put us in under any pressure. Is it Anderson? Is that Bruce Anderson? Did he play on Saturday? Did I make that up?
No,
or something? I don't know. Anyway, whoever he was rubbish that played. It might not be Bruce Anderson then, it might be whoever plays up front beside him. They just never caused it any bother. And I don't know if it was if it was just pure negligence, arrogance, laziness, I don't know. But like you said,
that was exactly my overall comment in the full game. I just felt we were totally dominant, absolute wasteful, and it was a wake-up call. It was a real feet on the ground, sombering moment that says, yes, we've got our swagger, but we've absolutely fucked that game there. And I hope that'll be a turning point. And I do wonder, we're all be sitting in the stand for the 2 games that we've done that. Is that also impacting us? But yeah, I mean, we've gone to Perth. Had that been another home game, and maybe we'd had another week to let that result sink in, if that would have kind of G'd us back up again. But disappointing.
Before we talk about Perth, one of the things that did disappoint me, other than the goal and how pathetic it was, and it's something that we've called out loads. We said it made a big difference at Ibrox. With some of the subs that we made against Livingston and Motherwell and stuff as well, is my biggest disappointment on Saturday was that the substitutions barely impacted the game for us, in which they have been in other weeks. I don't think Ginelli impacted the game when he came on. Gary Mackay-Steven never impacted the game. Again, another sitter from Gary Mackay-Steven. And Ando, that's the way he plays. It's his style. It's nonchalant. It looks lazy. It looks like he's not trying, etc. But he was pretty pathetic on Saturday when he came on in terms of effort. We're chasing to win the match type thing. It just felt like he was sort of miles off it, and that was the biggest disappointment so far since we've sort of had the squad together and the emergence of Benny and Devlin and Woodburn and Mackay and stuff, was the fact that I didn't think any of the substitutions on Saturday kicked us into life, if you know what I mean. I actually felt taking Mackay off sucked the life out of us, if I'm being honest. I thought we were getting more joy with Mackay on. We took him off, and I think it sort of sucked the life right out of us. So that was my disappointment.
It was a strange one to actually take Woodburn off at half time on Saturday.
I think he should have been sent off. Talking about VAR, actually, you've just reminded me.
There is that aspect.
VAR, we were very lucky that he didn't get sent off. Imagine that Robbie has probably heard that he should have been sent off, so told him to sit on his arse and stay in, if you know what I mean. But you're looking, he's replaced by Gary Mackay-Steven, a guy that realistically, he's been a Scotland international. He's had a semi-decent season for us so far, but he needs to start adding goals. So we'll come back to that theme in a minute once we talk about St Johnstone. So, Kev, you were there in the flesh. talk us through how did you see it live? What did you like? What was poor?
What was poor is very evident with the first 25 minutes of the game. I don't know if it was to do with the conditions. Pitch was really heavy. It was really wet. Halliday went in for a challenge on their right back. Nearly slid all the way back down to fucking Edinburgh. He was gone that far. But once the rain actually stopped and the pitch wasn't dried out or anything like that, but once they actually got themselves going, I thought we commanded the last probably 15 minutes of the first half. There's a chance for I think it was a good chance for Mikey Smith, and he's lashed at it and pushed it straight over the bar, which was disappointing from a cutback. Then we've won the ball on the halfway line. I know that St Johnstone are moaning about a possible foul, but I didn't see anything in it myself, and I've watched it back a couple of times. Yeah, nothing at all. And I thought Ginnelly, being his worst or he's not his strongest foot, has actually put in a really, really good shot into the bottom corner. So we went in probably fairly buoyant at halftime. You hear it all the time of guys saying that halftime whistles came at the wrong time for us. Probably has, because Nando's had a chance that Clark's saved, and I would expect him to save. And he's a striker, and you're probably expecting your striker to even try and score for the save from Clark. But in all honesty, I think he should have actually cut it back.
So that
was the end of the first half.
Done Clark a disservice with the save as well. I think it's a pretty decent save. He's gone the other way type thing. I think it's a good save.
I think it's just his height. The height of the ball was making it easier for him to get to, if you understand what I mean.
Aye, of course. But I think it was more than a routine save. I think it was a pretty decent save. But like you said, the disappointment comes from, and again, that's probably just sort of want of Nando to score in it. It's his desire to get on the score sheet. He's shot. Keeper's on his arse. Hearts. It's been a corner. We've got players in the box, and he's tried to shoot on his rubbish foot for a terrible angle when he probably had more value in dinking it back into the mixer and seeing what was happening. So second half.
Second half we commanded it, but the thing that worries me, and you would have seen it if anybody's watched the game for last night, is sometimes when that ball lands at Halkett's feet, and there was a point right at nearly the last couple of minutes of the game that he didn't know what to do, and he passed it like 6 foot right to the boy's feet, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ. But we've had opportunities. Suter nearly lashed one in for about 30-35 yards. It went over the bar. He then nearly had a carbon copy of his goal for last Saturday. It just went past the post. But then again, you also look at Nando. Nando's had, I think, 3, maybe 4 opportunities. One I know that he was offside for with a header, but the header he's put straight back. He's put it straight into Clark's. I think it would actually be more appealing to him if he actually put that in the net, even though he would have been offside. You'd be going like, do you know what? You've done everything right. All right, you've just been caught offside. But to actually not generate any power in the header and just put straight to the keeper's arms was a bit disappointing. And I really wish, with the chance that he put into the side netting, I wish Woodburn had been greedy. He was running at him, and you knew perfectly well that if he just put it in on his left foot, he would have had a strike at goal. I generally think he would have scored. So they were the disappointing aspects for me. But I do want to call out one thing, and this is to Cammy Devlin. Please continue to be an annoying little shite. I love it. Just love him. He's honestly, he's one of these players that he's an annoying little shite, but he's our annoying little shite. So I love him for it.
The partnership, people are crying out. Obviously, we'll talk about the goals and all that sort of stuff and where they're coming from in the park, and obviously the fact that Mackay, Woodburn, Benny, and Devlin haven't scored in that sort of midfield 4 or are attacking 4, so to speak. But you can't break up Benny and Devlin. You just can't. Benny's assist last night comes from Devlin winning the ball back. And then Benny's got the foresight and the sort of finesse to lay it on a plate for Ginnelly, who doesn't have to break his stride, gets his goal away or whatever. And again, I'm with you. There's just something about Benny and Devlin that I just love. I think they're superb, and I'm intrigued when we come, and we'll talk about Aberdeen later. I'm intrigued to see how that will fare against Brown and Ferguson, although I think Scott Brown's probably going to play centre-back because that's what he played last night. So, Ando, obviously we watched on Hearts TV last night. What was your overall thoughts? Anything that we've not really spoke about that you wanted to highlight or anything?
A couple of things. So again, obviously thanks Kev for that absolutely forensically detailed blow by blow account of the game. I'm not going to go over any of that, but there was two things that probably stuck out for me. Now, I did have it on Hearts TV, but see, I'll be absolutely honest. After about 12 minutes, I think it was when they scored, I kind of threw my toys at the pram a wee bit, and I started making dinner. But I had it on the speaker in the kitchen, so I was listening to every single bit of it, but I just maybe didn't see all of the game. The bits that I did see, the one thing that stuck out to me, and I'm happy to be challenged or corrected by you guys, but Michael Smith looked a bit off it for me yesterday, right? So I thought some of his passing was wayward, poor decision making for the bits that I seen. Now, if you could turn around and tell me I'm talking absolute shite, and I'll gladly take it because I haven't seen the full 90 minutes. But a couple of things, Michael Smith, questionable for me in spells throughout the game. Craig Gordon absolutely needs to take control of his area a little more, as we've seen from what happened in the first goal. Yeah, you can blame the guys in the line need to be tighter and all that sort of stuff, but I think Gordon, we've seen this in spells throughout his Hearts career in both terms, needs to take command of the area a little more. Seen it against Dundee as well. And Nando, the only question is, whatever he needs to bring, I don't think he is bringing. I don't think he has it. And just to follow up on your point, Corbett, we are talking about comparisons to the likes of Benny, Gino, Woodburn, Devlin. We've been, I hate to use this phrase, but blessed with that level of talent and seeing what they're capable of. When Nando plays, I expect to see that level of talent, and for me, I'm not seeing it. So that's my three major points from the game.
Shanks, you got anything you spotted the game or overall feelings?
So a couple of bits. So I thought again, Mackay was quite impactful. I just wonder if he'd have had a little bit more impact on the game had he had Cochrane behind him. Why is there a glaringly obvious reason why Halliday started over Cochrane? I thought Cochrane played Brown against Dundee. Did he have a knock that I'm unaware of?
No, I
thought Cochrane was a standout against Dundee, but he was absolute class. So to see him not in the squad, I thought, that's a bit strange. Well, let's see how that plays out against Aberdeen. Thought Nando was absolute dog shit. I'll take Pelters in the pre-show as well, where we talked about that he's had a load of good shots that I've maybe missed. It'll be good to see boys back on Saturday. I was surprised that we didn't give Woodburn a run up as a number 9. I don't know if there's something there that he's not comfortable in that position, but I would rather have seen him start last night up top, just to see what he's got about him. Thought Gordon looked a little bit nervous. I think obviously it was a tough night, tough first 15 minutes, but there was a couple of points where I was just sort of picking up on his looking a wee bit shaky there, but in general he's been our best player, so fair play.
Sorry, jump in there, Shanks.
Go on, mate.
I was just going to say, I think the nervousness at Gordon comes from the way Halkett had started the game. As soon as the ball got to his feet, we started playing these wee short passes a lot, across the back three. But the ground was so wet and so heavy that those passes weren't actually reaching. And from that point of view, I think that's why he was a little bit anxious about. Exactly. And he got shut down by Stevie May, then made a really good save actually from like a half volley for Kane. But sorry to jump in, buddy.
I think no, at all. and fair play to St Johnstone for the first kind of 15, 20 minutes. I thought they were all over us. I thought they started the game brilliantly. And then I'll just final call out. Devlin, absolutely brilliant until he gets himself sent off in a big game for something daft. So he's always got to involve himself when it's not anything to do with him. He's always running over and pushing the biggest guy in the park. It's a good laugh, but if he does it 10 minutes in at Easter Road, will he be forgiven for that? So a wee word in his ear for Robbie's may be required. But he's got the wee good two mentality about him, which is class. And then my final point was something I touched on earlier about the whole Robbie in the stand thing. Do we think that's making a difference? 2 games he's not been in the dressing room at half time. Maybe he's got something about him that we've not seen before that we are missing. So it'll be maybe good to get him back in the touchline.
Are they not allowed in the changing room at half time?
Don't know.
Was it not the whole? I don't think that was not the whole thing.
They call it a touchline ban, don't they? So I don't know if he's allowed down the stairs. Maybe he is. I'm not sure.
Maybe you're right, but again, so I agree with pretty much what you all said there. I think we're going to have to deal. One of the things that really impresses me and I like the most about Hearts this season is, can you remember the reaction shows and podcasts that we did last season? Going, what the fuck are we doing? Can anybody tell me what the tactics are? Can anybody tell me what the game plan is? Does anybody know what we're actually doing? You're watching right backs playing at left back. You're watching centre mids playing defence. You're watching boys play winger and all this random stuff. And we're going, what are we doing? It is evident what our game plan is. And I like the most thing about it is we stick to it. Do you know what I mean? And it's going to have hairy moments. You're going to get your situations like we had last night with Halkett and Craig Gordon with a half volley for Kane, where we're going to get pressed. Halkett's going to make a mistake, Suter will make a mistake, Gordon will make a mistake. But I like the most about us is that we don't change. We don't change. And you look back at like some of the starts we've had over the last couple of years, like we had a very good start under Craig Levein where we'd won 5 of the first 8 or whatever it was. Then we lose a player and we change the whole shape, outlook, the way we want to play. We just thought, right, well, let's stop. Didn't get beat until we get our players back, and we never got out of that mentality. Right now, you're looking there, good call it. Why's Halliday played? Well, Halliday's played because Cochrane can't play every single game. You know, so you're expecting the onus then comes on Halliday. You had your chance. Did you take it? If you didn't, you sit back on the bench. You look at Gary Mackay-Steven, you know, the fact that he didn't start or whoever, like, do you know what I mean? You're looking at the players and saying, now the onus is on them to come in and do something so that they keep their place, you know. So if Nando has to sit on the bench on Saturday, you know, and Boyce scores, then he can only have himself to blame because he's had the opportunities, he's not took them. And that's what I really like just now about this Hearts team is that I can absolutely tell you what they're trying to do, and I love what they're trying to do. I absolutely do. Again, you look at Nando for the header, it's a good save. The other one where he slipped through, it's another good save for Clark. All right, it goes, he should probably do better anyway, but he's put it through the keeper's legs, and the keeper's trailing legs managed to get a wee dink on it and put it past for a corner. So you're thinking that's all right. He had that shot at the end, flashed across the goal. So I'm the same. I've never been a fan of Nando. You know that for the start. If I've seen him, there's just something about him that doesn't smack that he's going to be a success for Hearts. But it's not because I don't want him to be. So if he plays on Saturday again, you're hoping that some game time or running the team gets better. So here's my question for you, for the takeaways from that. Boyce isn't fit for Saturday. Do we change? After everything we've just said there, do we change our formation to get more out of Nando, or do we stick to what we're doing and tell Nando to do more?
Who's putting the hand up?
I'll go
first.
Fuck you, Kev. Shanks has spoken.
We've got enough wingers on that bench to come in that allows Woodburn to push forward. I would put him up top and see how we get on.
But why he's not striker?
I was going to say that's a bold call.
When he signed,
he's an attacking midfielder, no?
When he signed, you were complaining that there were too many centre mids, and now you want him to play as. Now you want to play him as a striker.
Well, we're playing him as an attacking winger, so there's talks of people want to put Gino up front. I think he cuts in. He cuts in well. He's a big lad. He's got a bit about him. He's good on the ball. We talked about his spatial awareness. We're in need of some form of technically gifted ability up top for a period of a couple of weeks. I don't see why it couldn't be him. Or do you know what? We're then starting to scrape the barrel and we're thinking, right, are we bringing in youth or are you putting Halkett up front? I don't think we're quite at that stage. We're not
wait a minute.
But Ando for me just genuinely doesn't look interesting.
Rewind a minute. What was that? Halkett up front? What the fuck is that? That's not a thing. You can't play Halkett up front.
It is a thing. He's played up front before. Yes, you can. He's played up front before. Kevin McKenna.
Nah.
Talk to me. Somebody else argue with me on the Halkett up front.
I don't.
He's played up front for Livy, I think.
Well, what I would throw to you is Alan Shearer has a very famous quote of saying that you need to be worried about your strikers when they're not missing chances. So if you're playing devil's advocate, first one of the show, you say, well, actually, Nando had 4 or 5 chances last night. You know, I know, right? He never took them, but he still was there for 4 or 5 chances. So you say, right, well, what if he gets another 4 or 5 chances on Saturday? All he has to do is stick one of them away. Do you know what I mean? That's all he's paid for, is to stick one away. And the more worrying thing is your guys like your Ingus, your whatever that McCallum or Guy was, your Cole Stockton, your Connor Salmons, Tony Watts when they played for us and all that sort of stuff. These guys weren't getting chances because they weren't showing, they weren't making the runs, they weren't trying or whatever. Nando's getting in the positions. You're just playing devil's advocate. You're going to hope that he's going to convert one of them. So that would be my thing. Right, Kev, you had your hand up first.
My only sort of call out for Saturday would be if we do go into the game without Boyce and Nando starts, I would just like to see Ginnelly be closer to him and maybe then play Mackay in the 10. But I mean, I know that then shifts around maybe the way in which the team play. But what you did see last night was every time that Mackay got himself on the ball, he's always looking up. He's always looking for, who's available, what's the right pass, and he seems to be somebody that can pick the right pass a lot of the times. A bit like what you said earlier on about Benny and the slide rule pass that he makes for Ginnelly's goal. Mackay looks like he's got that. I don't think he's maybe got as much belief in himself to actually go on and score goals, but I do think he's got the ability to do a lot better. And he's with the crosses and everything else. And by playing in that 10 role, I think he just gives him that opportunity to be actually command a lot more of the game. And I hope that, of course, the pitch isn't as heavy and as wet as it was last night. So I'd like to see Mackay actually maybe move into 10 and then having Nando and Ginnelly, because I don't think there's any reason to drop Ginnelly. He looked really well. He played well from about the 25th minute onwards last night. I know they hooked him off after 70-odd minutes, 75 minutes maybe. And he could see he was frustrated to come off, which I get, and I think that's great to see. I think it was just a case of just let's actually look at getting some fresh legs on. And I think also he'd been kicked about a wee bit. I don't know who it was, but one of the boys slipped and caught him in a bad one. So I think it was just a precaution more than anything else, but I think he was keen to stay on.
So just to go back to your original question is, what do we do if Boyce can't make it? Do we play Nando or not? My answer is yes. Now, don't mistake what I said earlier on for like any sort of hatred in Nando. When I say Nando doesn't have it, I'm talking about that spark, that sort of sensationalism that Benny, Gino, Woodburn and Devlin bring to the team. Nando is a capable player, and we've seen that last night. If he had just been a little faster, a little bit more edgy or whatever, then he would have taken those chances that were presented to him. I think, and just to go back to your original point that you made earlier on in the pod, where we understand what Hearts are trying to do, we continue doing what we're doing. You look at the stats from Saturday, you look at the stats from last night. Yes, we should have won comfortably. We didn't. It will click eventually. We're not in a disastrous situation just now. So I think, yes, playing Ando, it will come good. Aberdeen, they've had a wee walk in the park outside of mediocrity, but they're getting an absolute shagging on Saturday. There, I've said it.
Right then, Kev, what's your thoughts for Saturday? Give your prediction. Aberdeen versus Hearts. What's the score going to be?
Oh, I'm actually slightly disappointed you came at me first, but I think you've seen that Aberdeen had a decent result against Hibs, I believe, last week. A decent performance last night, as I understand it, at Ibrox, and probably would have taken 3 points had it not been for a slightly debatable decision from the referee, but we've touched on that. So I am going to go with, I think we'll be a Desmond. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Going to say who's scoring for Hearts that now?
I am going to go with, if you want to be goal scorers, Boyd will get 1 from the penalty spot, and the other goal will go to Cammy Devlin.
Penalty Hearts, eh? Hearts have had the most penalties in the league this year. And if we get one on Saturday,
probably missed the most as well.
That'll take us to 6, I believe. There we go. Right, okay, at Desmond, Devlin's breaking his duck, and Boyce is scoring for the sick bench. Nice one. Right, Ando.
Well, as mundane as this might be, I think it'll genuinely be a scoring draw. I'm going to predict 1-1. It's never generally a high-scoring affair whenever we go to Pittodrie. It will be a draw. It'll be 1-1. And I fancy the wee Baza Mackay, Gorgie Grealish to break his duck. He'll get the goal.
Shanks it.
I think we're going to get beat 3-1 and that's going to make me look like a cunt.
Well, that's fair enough.
How's it going to make you look like that if we get beat 3-1?
Because he'll score. So that's all it needs to make me look like a dafty.
No, I'll get that fidget spinner back out. That can make you look a dafty.
What are you talking about, man? I've not got a fidget spinner. I think our run will come to an end. I think it will be 2-1 to Aberdeen. There you go. I'm boring. I think that we'll be as equally horrendous in Aberdeen as we were for the first 15 minutes in Perth. So there we go. Hopefully I'm wrong. Scoring?
Did I say 2-1? I think Nando will get a consolationer, and we'll push really hard and not quite get an equaliser. Might even get a man sent off, actually. We could potentially. We've got a good record of getting people sent off. People getting sent off up at
you
Pittodrie.
You could have just picked a bonus question for the predictor there, Corbett. So I think that's what we'll do. Will Hearts get a man sent off? Yes, no.
Cool. As we said there, we've played 11 games this season. Rate the season so far. How's it went? And then we'll have a wee predictor of how we think the next 11 games will go. So, Shanks, we'll come to you for it first and foremost. How would you rate the first 11 matches of the season? Below expectations, above expectations? What you liked, what you not liked, what you saying it?
Touching on what you said earlier about consistency, I think it's been the biggest change that we've seen for last season. This season, Robbie's made us look like dafties in terms of his ability to turn it round. He's definitely built confidence. He's brought a bit back to the support. I think we've probably overachieved. I'm not so arsed about the unbeaten run thing. I'd quite happily seen us take a defeat, but maybe turn a couple of those draws into victories. I think where we have drawn, it's been a bit disappointing that the ones that have come at Tynecastle. So in the next round of fixtures, for me, it's we need to be starting to be a bit more clinical at home. If we get a draw at Pittodrie or a draw in Perth, then it's almost expected, but we've got to be more clinical at home. I don't see us taking anything off the old firm in the next round of fixtures. So I think we've got to bear that in mind and be realistic about our league position.
Right, which is
miserable.
You never really said that. You never really said anything. really say then.
I'm confident that we'll still bury the rest of the league, so third. Take me third.
So I think we'll be sitting third after the next round of 11.
Aye, I'll take that. I think that's where we should be. But 2 weeks time, let's see how we go against United.
Fair. Kev?
Brandy listened back to one of the first pods before either season started or just after it started. I wasn't at all buoyant or in promising mood in regards to the season ahead, and I have been well and truly put in my arse with regards to it. I think we've done really, really well against teams that normally we would be pretty shit against, i.e. Rangers and Celtic. But the problem is that those teams that have came to Tynecastle and the points that we've dropped to Tynecastle, hope don't come back and bite us in the arse come April, May next year. In saying that, I think the football that we've been playing, both home and away, is great. I think that's actually, it's, as you spoke about tonight, we've got a bit of purpose about us. We've got the players in the right positions now. We're able to play a brand of football, if you want to call it that everybody, I think, in the stands enjoys to watch, enjoys to actually see us play. So for that point of view, I think this season's been so far very, very positive. The next 11 games, I actually disagree with Shanks. I think we probably will do well against Rangers when they come to Tynecastle at the beginning of December. I would actually hope again that when we go to Parkhead, which I don't think is that far away, I think it's only a few weeks away. I think we maybe learned from the League Cup match that, do you know what, they're not as good. Yes, they've had some great, they've had some decent results over the last 3 or 4 weeks, but they had a challenge, have they, in the last 3 or 4 weeks? So come the next round of fixtures, I'd like to see us in second.
Nice, Kev.
So, in summary of the season so far, 3 words for you: born again hard. That's where we're at. If you'd asked me, and we did speak about it earlier on in the season, after 11 matches, would I have envisaged us being third? No, is the answer. The fact that we are in third, putting in some of the displays we put in, I think, yes, you can use the words overachieved, but also balance that with the fact that we have set a new standard. And obviously, I think Nielsen spoke about it in his after-match interview yesterday, saying that we're in third place. It's a sign of how far we've come. Now, while I do think in some terms that's a little bit of a small team mentality to say that we should be pushing on and striving for second, I absolutely take Kev's point that I'd love to see us second after the next round of fixtures. I think if we continue playing the way we're playing, bearing in mind that our big games against Rangers and Celtic. Rangers will be playing at Tynecastle, Celtic will be playing at Parkhead, and Hibs will be playing at their bit. Those are the 3 big games for me. And again, this is going to come down to small team mentality when I say this. Rangers and Celtic, they are going to run away with first and second. I would like us to still be in third after the second round of 11. As long as we can dismiss the likes of Aberdeen, Dundee United, and Hibs as well, I think it'll be, when we get to the half-season mark, job well done if we're still in third. So that is my estimation. That's where I think we'll be.
I think, well, that's pretty fair. Me, it's a weird feeling, but it always is with Hearts. I think we've been massively impressive. Robbie delivers for Hearts. I've said that for the start. Whether my thoughts on Robbie as a manager and all that sort of stuff, they don't even come into play when it comes to that stuff. His record's a joke. I believe he's maintaining his record of about 60% win rate in the top flight for us for a first spell and now, which is massively impressive for any Hearts manager. But I don't think anybody can look and not be disappointed. We've drawn 50% of our home games. And yeah, on paper, one was against Hibs, one was against Aberdeen. Hibs haven't won in 5 now. Aberdeen have won 2 games all season. We were in a winning position against Aberdeen and dropped points. We're in a winning position against Dundee at home and dropped points. You take care of them, there's 6 points straight away. We would be sitting, 3 points clear, 4 points clear. top of the league, whatever it is. You then look at Ross County are the worst team in the league, dropped points against them. St Johnstone, we've basically dropped points against 3 of the bottom sides in the league. So from that aspect, that's disappointing. But let's be serious. If you'd asked us after the round of 11, we'd be sitting third. We'd be 2 points, 3 points behind top spot.
Absolutely.
We'd all bite your hand off, won't we? After the seasons that we've had. But I don't think that means that we're entitled. I think any Hearts fan looking at where we are, I don't think anybody in Scottish football could sit and complain if Hearts were sitting 6 points clear at the top of the league. When you look at the points that we've dropped, I'd say the draw at home with Hibs was fair. We were very lucky at points to get a draw at Ibrox, but you look at last night, that's disappointing. A game we could have won. Ross County were 2-1 up. We end up with a draw. 1-0 up, sorry. We end up with a 2-2. We could have won that. Loads of points. And I think that's really positive for us. I think that's really, really positive.
Yeah.
I think we'll keep that run going on. I don't think we'll remain unbeaten, obviously, but I think we'll remain in a good run of form for the second 11. I think we've got tough games. I think Celtic away. Celtic are currently the best team in the league right now. Hibs were very lucky last night that Celtic was points in that first half. It could have been a cricket score for Celtic. They could have took any number off Hibs. So I'm not really worried about Hibs. We've called it out here, and I'll continue to call it. Jack Ross is a myth. He is an absolute myth of a manager. I don't have any problems with him. I think Dundee United and probably Aberdeen, I think, will start to see a bit of a revival. They'll start to claw back where they are. I think they'll be the sort of sides that I'm with Shanks. If we can back them offside, then yeah, I'll be disappointed to be sitting any lower than third, given what we've seen so far at the end of the next 11. So there we go. So what are we? Third, second, and third. Is that what we're saying?
More or less, aye.
Decent. Kev,
just said what Shanks said. So,
Kev, interesting. Who are we sitting behind? Is it Celtic or is it Rangers?
We're sitting behind Celtic.
I think Celtic will be top of the league. I also echo that sentiment. I also think Celtic will be top of the league, which again, when you think of how shit Celtic have been and how much of a piss take they've been, it's quite embarrassing because we gave them pelters on here and on Twitter, and now they're above us, which is hilarious. So we'll just before we end it on that, I think the end of the 11 will see us what will that be? January transfer window time? Well, at the end of the next 11.
Yeah, comfortably, yeah.
Our last game's Hibs at Easter Road, in it, and then it's the winter shutdown. Is that right?
Is there a winter shutdown? Didn't know that, but okay.
I think there is, like.
For the World Cup or something?
Wow, no idea. Is there a World Cup one?
I think they've only got 10 days. It's a 10-day break, isn't it?
Well,
because they play the last league game, which is Hibs, on this 3rd now of January. I think there's then a break for 10 days, then a Scottish Cup match.
All right, okay. So we start our winning Scottish Cup run
in January.
So just quickly, we spoke about it there. Might as well just end it quickly before we'll dive more forensically into January transfer windows. But round the table, number one priority in the January transfer window. Shanks, if you were only allowed to bring in one person or one position, what position you picking for the January transfer window?
Striker.
Kev?
Juicy centre mid there, Shanks. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Given the performance last night, given the performance last night, and what we've seen over the last few weeks with even home games, I'd like to see a new striker come in, someone that is hopefully already sort of established as a striker. Maybe even if they've been out injured for a wee while, maybe is it worth taking a punt, given our record on players with injuries in the background? Maybe not, but a definite striker is what I'd be looking for.
I don't think we take punts anymore as a football club, Kev, if I'm being honest with you.
No,
we're just on pounds.
Under Savage. under Savage. I don't think we'll take punts. Ando, what's your thoughts?
Same clean sweep. I go with that as well. With Savage on board, sort of steering the ship through that water, I would absolutely say he'll be able to unearth a gem of a striker as a backup, or if not a main challenger, my best mate Boise.
Agreed. Clean sweep. Striker, I think, number one priority. And it's the only disappointment so far of the season, or the last transfer window, was our inability to bring just one more person into play up top. Shanks, we'll end it on you. Give some knowledge.
So I mean, like we're talking about bringing in a striker to be back up to Boyce, but if he continues, if he gets over this injury and continues his run of form, we might well see us accepting a bid in January for players of his ilk. So we might be needing to.
We don't have to
be backfilling as opposed to.
He's with us until 2023.
I don't see us selling any players unless it's big money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're right.
Could be, like.
You're right. If we got 11 games left, he's 12 goals already for the season. Do you know what I mean? So you're right. Well, I think we'll be as a football club. I think we'll be preparing ourselves for bids for Suter or to either sign somewhere else for Benny, for Boyce, or these type of guys. I think the club will be more than well prepared for that. Cool, right, boys. Again next Tuesday, when the Gorgie Express will be unbeaten, or
hopefully
will it?
So.
Right, boys. See you next Tuesday.
See you later.
Cheers, lads.
Bye.